roll them. Scissors, bobbin winder, super glue, and these little wire gadgets. That's just a couple of pieces of piano wire bent into a loop. What we're doing is we're going to make loops at the end of a fly line. What bothers me no end is to see nail knots. Nail knots went out with Isaac Walton. Just giving it a good scrape, get rid of some of the coating on it, just to rough it up so it doesn't pull out. See? That's the inner coating starting to show through there. You can actually soak that fly line in fingernail polish remover and remove a bit of the coating. We didn't do that, but we just roughed it up a little bit, and use your bobbin winder and whip a nice loop on the end of the fly line, just like this. You got to be careful you don't make it too long, and otherwise you hit yourself in the head. And right down the line, every last little bit is covered. This is the way it's done in all of the fly shops I ever saw in New Zealand, but apparently they still do it in some primitive nail knot fashion in America. Of course, you know, America's a little bit behind the rest of the world. I do one whipping, I put a little super glue on there, and then I do a thorough whipping. And if I were going to get really fancy, I would pull out my whipping tool, which I do have actually, once the super glue is dry. That's probably whipped enough, and just take that whipping tool and lay it alongside and do a bunch of them. And this is like making a whip finish, but works real good. Bunch of wraps, maybe 10 or so, and then cut off a little bit here. Put this through the wire like that, and pull it, and you've got a nice whip finish which won't undo. And then you coat that in super glue after you've trimmed the little bits off, and you get a nice tidy loop. It'll last a long time, and you can actually see when it starts to deteriorate. And you can just do another one, and that's a lot easier than doing whip finishes. And it's ready to tie a leader on or the backing on right on the river. We'll just go to the other end now, which is the leader end. Weight forward part, and do another one. Usually at the backing end I can make a fairly large loop, and at this end I'll make a kind of a little bit more delicate one. Bring it around like that, and I'll make a slightly smaller loop at this end. And then once you've covered it with one run, it doesn't have to be absolutely tidy run, but then you give it a bit of super glue and do another run or two. And I hope this gets on YouTube, because I get tired of seeing guys coming down there to catch bonefish with fly lines that are attached with nail knots. And sometimes the nail knots are big, and you have to always have a little piece of leader on the end, and then you have to figure out how you're going to attach your leader to their little piece of leader, and it's a pain in the butt. Put that through the little wire loop and pull it through, and nice tidy whip finish. Trim the ends and give it a good coat of super glue. It goes hard as a rock, and it dries instantly. I could just let that dry, or I could run it off on my fingers a little bit. Let it soak in a little bit. And that's the other end. That's the leader end now. Finished. Whole operation took less than 5 minutes. Hard to beat that. Tie your leader straight on. Nifty. Just cover the dog. As long as the dog doesn't move, we're okay. See? The dog's got a bit of line on him. And I tie the backing on with a double cinch knot. I find it's the strongest knot that I've ever seen. I basically double the line, put it through this loop, and go 5 times around. And I go only through here. If it was an improved cinch knot, I would go back through the second loop, but I don't, not with this one. Just go through there, give it a slide, and sort of coax it down so it makes a nice little knot. And you end up with a loop sticking out like this. But that's the double cinch knot. Very strong. And I never really trim them close. I always leave a little bit sticking out, because you never know. Can't hurt. It's like a little flag going out when the bonefish runs out all your fly line and starts to work on that 150 yards of backing. You can see that little flag going out there. That's it. And you wind them all on the reel. Hope you don't lift the dog off the ground in the process. He doesn't even mind, actually. He's quite happy there. What's wrong, Jake? What's all that stuff on your head? If it were a cat, he'd be chewing on it. Looks like a perfect amount of backing, so we can get the whole fly line on there, just enough room so it's full, and you get all the backing you can possibly hold on the reel. Nice tidy little loop at the end. Ready to go. Ready to go fishing.